Okay, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Welcome all to this online session. And we are very lucky today to have Dr. Ijaz with us. He's a senior plant scientist working as a senior scientist in NARC Islamabad. And I would like to request him to start with his presentation. First, share his PowerPoint presentation with us, and then start with his commenting on it. Dr. Ijaz, it's your turn, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arfan. Thank you very much, Dr. Batu Khan. Can everybody see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, to me it's good. Please.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The today's topic of my presentation is pesticide implications on human health. Like what type of pesticide we are using nowadays, and what's the effect going to be on the human health and the environment contribution. The pesticide, like the dangerous contribution, as Dr. Irfan already introduced me, that my name is Dr. Ijaz Ahmad, and I am working as a senior scientific officer at National Agriculture Research Center, the country's main national or the largest research center at Pakistan, in the capital city Islamabad. What's the pesticide? The pesticides are the toxic chemical substances used to repel and destroy any insect. That we intentionally use the pesticide to repel or to kill the insects and to increase the production of our crops, like the yield. When we use the pesticides, there are some like the health risk. There are a lot of risk, but mainly we focus on the health risk. The potentially pesticide are the potentially hazards to the insects and the human, because the some like the brain system or the some physiology of the human is just like the humans too. So in this way, when we use the pesticide, any type of pesticide on the crops, it also repel or kill the insects, but have a lot of impacts on the human health. So types of pesticide which are mainly being used in Pakistan is the insecticides to kill the insects, the rodenticides to kill the rodents, herbicides to kill the herbs, and the fungicide to kill the fungi. The chemical or the class mode, the mode of action of the pesticide chemical classes are the pesticide, the chlorinated hydrocarbons, organophosphates, and the carbamates. And the main are the largest group of the pesticides are the chlorinated pesticides. Group-wise consumption is the mainly insecticide. The 90% are the insecticide are being used on the crops, and then the 7% herbicide and only 3% fungicide. So main group is the insecticides to kill the insects. So what type of problem we face when we use the pesticides? The mainly when we use a lot of pesticide, first problem is cost of the pesticide, cost of the production increase because the demand increase. When the demand increases, the production is also the production cost is also increases. Then the agriculture method and the pest management and the groundwater contamination, pesticide resistance, government regulations, and there is bioaccumulation in the food and feed chain. And then ultimately is the goal of the use to pesticide is to increase the yield and ultimately to increase the profit of the farmers. At our institute, we tested or analyzed different food commodities like citrus, dates, grapes, peach, rice, and the many other commodities too. In case of citrus, like the 20% samples were contaminated and the 8% samples were the above the MRLs. MRLs means the maximum residue limits of the pesticide, which is determined or the which is already classified by the developed countries. In case of dates, is the 0% samples was the above the MRS mean the standards, and the 40% dates samples were contaminated. Likewise the grapes, in case of grapes 25%, and in case of peach is a 73% samples were contaminated, and the 66% samples were above the MRS limits. So we can see that in case of peach, that there is a lot of pesticide in the peach we determined, we tested, and the 66% like the above the emeralds. So it means that if we want to export peach, we can't export these commodity like the peach to any countries, because it's above the 66% above the emeralds level, like the standards level. In case of rice, the 67% samples are contaminated, and it's above the 18%. And in case of the brinjal, cauliflower, chili, okra, tomato, and the honey, like in brinjal 67%, in cauliflower 64%, in chili you see 77% samples were contaminated. Means only like a 23% samples were fit, and the 77% sample contaminated, means a lot of dangers to human health. The impact of pesticide on human health: it's a carcinogenic to humans, can affect on liver, renal damage, reproductive hormones disruptors, affect on immune system, decrease fertility status, even though there is a problem of stillbirth in the pregnant women, enlarged thyroid glands, and a lot of other problems with the also related to the pesticide when the humans use the or consume the pesticide contaminated product. In case of biodiversity, you can see in the first, like the Karachi Harbor, in this picture. In a Karachi Harbor is a key in case of the on our y-axis is a 0248, like the digit. But when is go to the like the silt and the sand or the other commodities, is a scale is 0, 100, 200, 300. So biomagnification increases from one commodity, like from the water to birds, and from birds to eggs. When it goes to the eggs, is the biomagnification, and the scale is a 5,000. It's a 5,000 time increases. So the biomagnification of the pesticide is too much. Is in case like the from one living commodity to transfer to the other commodity, in case that there is a lot of biomagnification, it means a lot of accumulation of pesticide from one product to other. And in case of the like the bees, like 75% our yield depend upon the pollinations, and this pollination is directly depend upon the honeybees. So in case of bees, is the pesticide is deteriorating the bees colonies, and a lot of death are reported by the pesticides. And in some advanced researches is in last 10 years is more than 50% population decreased, population of the honeybees decreased due to only single commodity, that the pesticides. The type of pesticides, so there are two main type of poisoning due to the pesticide: acute poisoning and the chronic poisoning. Common symptoms of the mild poisoning, moderate poisoning, and the severe poisoning. In mild poisoning, there is a headache, a feeling of sickness, fatigue, irritation like this, And during the moderate poisoning, like the vomiting, blood, vein, stomach cramp, rapid pulse, or there are other some heart issues, and in severe poisoning, respiratory failure, loss of consciousness, loss of pulses, and even in some cases, rapid death also reported due to the severe poisoning. The pesticide issues like WHO, the World Health Organization's study reported that in Pakistan, the 7,100 occupational and the 3,100 non-occupational people are affected due to the pesticide, and the 220,000 fatality due to the only single commodity like the pesticide. Pesticide industries in Pakistan is started in 1954, but almost 250 pesticide units at the start. But with the passage of time, is every single passing years is the rate of the industry or the unit in increasing 25% increasing. So from the 1954 to 2024, you can imagine if that 25% annually is increasing. So nowadays is a lot of pesticide units, and even though the lot of usage of pesticide, only the 80% of the pesticide is being used on our single crop is the cotton crop. The problem with the pesticides is the problem with the pesticides are developed in the advanced countries, but mainly being used in the developing countries, because in developing countries there is a weak regulations, and there is no preventive measures, and even though the import and dumping policies, there is no regulation policy related to this. So that's why in developing countries, there is the more dangers as compared to the developed countries. Severity of the poisoning. The severity of the poisoning is mainly depend upon three things. The first is the toxicity of the compound. The compound itself, how much is the toxic, and the second is the dose rate. The what dose rate we are going to apply, and the third is the exposure length, and the how much time is being to be applied. So these three combination mainly develop the severity of the poisoning, that how much poison is severe. Occupational hazards, these are the real picture of the field survey, our field study, that the pesticide mainly it affects the pesticide applicators, then the farm workers being working in the same fields, and mixing and the handling, and the factory workers, and then the consumers, and the many others too. It's a route of the exposure of the pesticide is a direct route like the ingestion, even though inhaling, and then the dermal contact on body or skin contact. These are the three main routes through which the pesticide cause poisoning in the human health. Mixing and the handling of the pesticide. In the advanced countries, like the right side picture shows that in advanced countries, this type of the protective measures are being adopted. But in the developing countries like the Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and like Sri Lanka and the related countries, this type of practice are being adopted, and this is a real field survey picture. And see, the second picture shows that there is no protective measures like no gloves, and even though the field shoes and some other main protective measures. So in this way, the uh, workers are mainly affected by the pesticides use. And this picture shows that the picking of the crop shows that there is no protective measures. And so this way, right after the pesticide use on the tobacco crop, when the farmer are collecting and going to be collect the tobacco crops, and this way the dermal intact due to this, there is the irritation, the issues of the skin diseases, and even though there is the penetration of the pesticides in the skin and in the blood too. Transportation of the pesticide, the crop in the developed countries, there is some protective measures, but in developing countries, see, there is no protective measures, and they are like in this way, all the crop put all the crop, and then they are sitting on the same pesticide affected crop, and still they are enjoying and laughing because they don't know about the severity of the problems. The pesticide on the hands of the pharmacy, there is no gloves and there is no protective measures. And in this way, they use the pesticide in the pesticide application in the field. And this pesticide directly create the problem for the farmer communities and the workers. Animals are also exposed to insecticides right after the use of pesticide in the fields. Is a tobacco field and real pictures like a buffalo and the other animals are like grazing in the same field because the farmer doesn't bother about the severity or intensity of the danger. And when they are grazing in the same field, and after the farmer will collect milk from these animals, and even though like at some point they are being to be slaughtered for the meat purpose, and in this way the animals will accumulate a lot of pesticide in their body, and after like the consuming that this all accumulated pesticides directly go to the human food chain. After the use of the pesticide, the farmer don't bother to bury these plastic, empty plastic pesticide bottles. Even though in the real field survey, we saw that they throw at this same place and they walk away and they didn't bother. And even though in some cases we saw the people are washing these bottles and then after the washing, they are using drinking water in these bottles. And even in some cases, I myself saw that the one farmer was the collect milk in these bottles too, because they don't know the severity of the problems. Is recently in the 2023 during the 23 and 24 is a tomato field samples. We collected the tomato sample from all over the Pakistan. The map show the different areas of the Pakistan. The like Gilgit-Baltistan is the one province, is the Balochistan is the other province, and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is the third one province, and the Punjab is the fourth province of the Pakistan. We collected from these sites the tomato samples. Then we bring it to our labs because our labs are ISO 17025 accredited lab, and we have the advanced chromatographic instrument to test and analyze the pesticide in our lab. So we bring the sample to our lab and we tested the sample, these samples, and determine the result. This is the results in our province. In the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, is 88% samples were the contaminated. That is a tomato. In case of tomato, in Gilgit-Baltistan, the only 8%. In Balochistan, is 29% samples were the contaminated sample we found. In Azad Jammu and Kashmir, the 20% samples, and in Islamabad market, the 29% samples were the contaminated. We analyzed at our lab. Risk assessment of the pesticides exposure on health of the Pakistani farmer. During the sample collections, we also develop a survey study. We develop some format like to collect the information from the field directly. The applicators are the farmers. We are going to like the application of the pesticide or the worker of the farm fields. Clinical examinations, in the we collected the information that the how much people are going or use the gloves, and only the 9% people use gloves, and the 96%, like the 91% people are not use the glove. The mask, only 14% people use mask. Cross shoes, only 31% people use. People like the farmers and the applicators use cross shoes. Hand wash immediately after spraying, 89% is a good sample that 89% people wash their hands after the applications. The body wash immediately after the sprayings, the 88%. And the clothes change immediately after the sprayings. Only the 6% people change their clothes after the spray. And in other cases, we also collect the information from the farmers that the stomach cramp of the Omar people are affected by the pesticide during the application. Uh, it's a 90% uh, uh, people tell us that we feel cramp. It's a mild cramp. And in case of mild, is like the 20 to 25%, but in case of moderate, is more than 80%. Skin rashes is more than 50%. Shortness of breath, the more than is 80% people feel shortness of breath. Muscle weakness is a 70% of people feel that muscle weakness. Burning or like excessive tearing is a 60, more than 60%. A farmer felt that this the problem. Even though the vomiting, dizziness, nausea, and the headache, it's all are the more than 50% farmer feel these problems. But even though they don't bother to wear the mask, to wear the gloves and the other protective measures too. In case of the gloves, mask shoes, closed shoes, these are the percentage related to agriculture farmers. Home exposures, accidental during the home exposure is a accidental ingestion, like the lawn use or the insect control, dietary exposure, the pesticide residue on crops, and the contaminated drinking water, the underground water, when we use a lot of pesticide, the pesticide infiltrate in the soil and then it contaminate the underground water, and leaching from the soil to the underground water. The intentionally use of pesticide is the Landane is a shampoo that is the most of the people use intentionally, and then they got the dermal or the other skin rashes problem because Landane is the main pesticide which is being used in the shampoo too. Acute toxicity in case of eyes when there is a problem of the pesticide in eyes, increased lacrimation, the lot of tearing, meiosis problems, dim and blurred vision due to effect of pesticide, and the conjunctival hyperemia, and even though the eye pain problem due to the pesticide, the when the farmer are being affected with the use of pesticide during the field application. Respiratory systems, small exposure, and tight chest, moderate exposure is the severe breathing difficulty, gasping, irregular breathing, and the compound by the excessive secretion from the mouth and even though from the eyes too. And it also affects the gastrointestinal tract, increase salivation, nausea, and the vomiting problem, increase secretions of the GIT glands, and even though increase mortality and the diarrhea problem due to the pesticides. Cardiovascular problems, sometimes it increases the heart rate and sometimes it decreases too much, during some cases sometimes it increases and decreases, and there's the problem of the like a heart attack and some other issues like this. Skeletal muscles, like a fatigue problems, and twitching and the weakening of the muscles, and even though in some cases is the body paralyzed due to the excessive pesticides problems. Central nervous system, it directly affect the central nervous system, and if it affect it create anxiety, restlessness, headache, confused behavior, and even though it affect the neurotransmitters, and the neurotransmitters not convey the proper message, sometimes the body need the other signal, and the neurotransmitter provide the different signals. So this way the body and the brain system damage, so the brain not convey the proper message to the body. The sign and the symptoms of the acute pesticide toxicity in like the I already discussed that during the eye meiosis, blurring, or the lacrimation in central nervous system, fatigue, dizziness, headache, and the sometimes coma-like problems is also reported in farmers and other community living near the fields. In the during the it also creates the lungs problems, grand intestinal problems, and the muscle problems, and the heart rate problems is the trachea or the brady like symptoms in the heart issue. The sign of the pesticide poisoning in the children is in some cases is a lethargic sleepy, in some cases is a seizure like problem, and in some cases even though right after the pregnancy, like the female or the field workers or the are working in the factory or like the pesticide production units, and they are pregnant, and the right after the children birth, babies go to the comas, or like these problems are also reported due to the effect of pesticide on human health. Chronic toxicity is there is a repeated or the prolonged exposure to
Excuse
the
me, Dr.
small
Ijaz.
doses. Yes.
Dr. Ijaz, I would request to please wrap up your presentation and just come to the conclusion.
Yeah,
This is yeah.
It's the last few slides. Exposure and the health deteriorations in this way, like the well-being, early changes, then the subclinical signs, illness, and then death reported. In chronic toxicity, the blood disorder, paralysis, asthma, kidney problem, infertility problem, and the birth defects, and in the chronic effects of the pesticide, like the carcinogenics, cause the cancers, damage structure of the DNA. In some cases, the Parkinson's disease are also reported. Uh, Lymphoma, and the lymph cancers, and the leukemia is the blood cancer reported, and also environmental distribution disturbance like the biodiversity problem, it disturb the biodiversity too. The biochemical, like if these type of the symptoms are the other like this, there as the blood samples are being collected from the farmers, then the bring to the laboratory, and there is like a kit, already developed kit, then the quality control checks, and then finally the result are being produced of what type of the like develop the dangerous effects on the human health and the farmers health too. The level of the DNA, if damaged, like the undamaged DNA is this type, then the damaged and the highly damaged, like the C is the totally like black colors. Some preventive measures, that the no mechanical alternatives, then the engineering control, and the personal protective equipments used. Thank you very much. Again, conclusion: the hazards is mainly depend on two things: the exposure and the toxicity. The how much time is being the exposed the one individual, and the how much was the toxicity. It can be a combination of the hazard. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ijaz. Such a comprehensive and such an informative, and you did it wonderfully in such a short time. You briefed us like from farm, agriculture farm, land to laboratory, and doing so nicely. Thank you very much, Dr. Ijaz. And
Thank you,
now I
Dr.
would
Khan.
like to open the house. Yes, sir. Now house is open for any question. I would like to invite other our respected online conference members if they have any question, any query.
There is no question yet from YouTube.
Would you like to any comment, furnish us with your opinion on the subject, on the presentation, on the resource person, please?
If it's finished, thanks.
Yes, brother is finished.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Ijaz.
Yeah, thank you. It's finished now. And if you have any question, please let me know. And if you have later on, like this is going to be
Yeah.
broadcast on the YouTube. So if there's like the later on, even though I can address.
Yeah, I can see one question from Dr. Batukhan. Yeah, and he's saying that how can we decrease of using pesticide except protecting ourselves? So he means how can we reduce the use of pesticides and make its use more sensible?
Dr. Batukhan, like we can reduce the use of pesticide by using the alternative sources like the biological control and even though the engineering control, because like without the engineering control we use a lot of pesticide, and if we use the engineering control then we use the precise amount of the pesticide. And then there is the other sources like the organic sources, and then the botanical pesticides. So in this way, with the use of botanical pesticide and with the use of biological control, we can reduce the use of like the chemical pesticides. But for the consumer, and when you like the purchase from the market, please wash it thoroughly and like ensure that even though the from which field these commodities are being transported or being marketed. So if you know like the field source, then it's good. If the field source is unknown for you, then wash it properly. And in case of a fruit, just peel the fruit like the apple, remove the skin, then there is less dangers to the human health.
Thank you very much, Dr. I think that was the query from Batukhan. Now, I have a quick question. The
Yeah,
number of
sure.
fatalities you have mentioned in your slide, that fatalities mean it's in the worldwide per annum? Just if you can mention the number of fatalities, size.
Sorry, the internet problem.
Because it's a really my query is that this slide, it's like a very remarkable figure. So it's just
Yes,
in
like
Pakistan or like in the
no, Dr.
worldwide,
Khan,
globally,
no.
per annum? What's that?
It's a worldwide because it's a WHO's data. It's not our data. It's a worldwide 220,000, like the 220,000
Oh,
fatalities. And even though in I'm not sure about the years, but in India, in at there are the two bigger incident in the some Indian factory, the pesticide factory. There was the like issue with the boiler or like this, and the whole factory blasted. And during that, a lot of in thousands there were the fatalities reported in India only, and it's a worldwide fatalities reported by the WHO.
oh, oh. Okay, thank you. So, has there been in Pakistan create awareness, particularly how to use pesticides?
Dr. Irfan,
Dr.
our
Ijaz?
project is we are running the project like this. When we collect the sample from the field, even though we educate to the farmer, and even though after determination of the pesticide, like in case of tomato, we can also conduct the farmer field day, and then we explain the which pesticide is being reported more, so that this the alternative of this pesticide is the that product, so not use this product. You must go for the alternatives and the other sources too, and even though we tell them the danger related to the pesticides. So we at our level, even though we create awareness to the farmers, even though the universities, even we conduct the seminars and the workshops to the general public too.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's really need to be done.